Eckhart! Think about the future.
And so now we look to the future. Very exciting, I know. So Aquaman's up next, and the early reports are the film guided by the hand of director James Wan, known for The Conjuring and the seventh Fast and Furious film. Apparently the test audiences are reacting well, and so that's a good, hopeful sign. Hopefully it can kind of pick it up, since they were probably, since Warner Brothers, I don't think, was thrilled with the financial take on Justice League. I get the impression they considered it a bit of a disappointment, and that's understandable. After Wonder Woman, I'll still stand by the notion that I thought it was an entertaining film. I don't mind it at all. It's not a perfect film. I'd say it's about maybe an Avengers Age of Ultron, a little lower than that. So depending on your feelings on that. But last year, DC and Warner Brothers announced the Flash film was going to be called Flashpoint. And the Flash, I mean, they knew they were going to be doing a Flash film. And so we as an audience knew it was coming up, but we hadn't really gotten any details other than Ezra Miller is the Flash.
Wow, it's like a cave. Like a bat cave.
Barry!
But Flashpoint is a story in which Barry Allen goes back in time to stop the murder of his mother. When he gets back to the present, he finds some minor changes, like the Atlanteans are at war with the Amazons. Bruce Wayne was killed as a child with his mother, and Batman is his father, Thomas Wayne. Superman was captured by the government as an infant and raised within the government. And so the resolution of that story led to their every 10 years we do a reboot for DC. The New 52, well, that could be a whole video into itself. So we won't even get into that. My initial reaction was, let's not jump to conclusions that this is a reboot movie or even a time travel movie. We don't know. I mean, Avengers Age of Ultron and Captain America Civil War, both only, I mean, Age of Ultron only, the only thing it had in it that was similar to the storyline was Ultron was in it. Civil War had a completely different inciting action and functioned very differently. You know, I mean, in the comics, Spider-Man revealed his identity. Here, that was not at all. And it, you know, it's a much smaller scale too. But the fact is there was no reason, I felt, to assume that Flashpoint was going to be the time travel change reality story. And then recently people have leaked some information that indicates it is going to be the time travel story. And that does really kind of, that disappoints me. Because I feel like, now I get kind of feeling like, okay, we just have not been able to get this thing going and off the ground. We're getting beaten up. Now, the first three films, they are what they are. If they're actually going to reboot the universe, it's really all about those first three films. Now, first off, I don't want to see more origin movies for these characters. Not for... It's one thing to do, say, Plastic Man's origin or Shazam's origin. But it's another entirely... We know Batman's origin. We know Superman's origin. We don't need those stories retold. And I think part of this is DC doesn't really have a cemented plan of what they want. They know what they generally want. They want successful movies. They want movies that make them lots of money, too. And I think the filmmakers want to make good movies that people enjoy. And DC's still announcing upcoming projects that I would guess would come after Flashpoint, though it's hard to tell because Flashpoint seems really ambiguous. They haven't gone into production yet. They just announced the New Gods movie, which I've referred to a couple times now, by Ava DuVernay, which is exciting news, especially because she is familiar with the comics. She's cited Big Barda as one of her favorite comic book characters. But on the other hand, the Matt Reeves directed Batman movie doesn't start production until 2019. Almost a full year from now is when it starts its production. And why? It's a Batman movie. Batman is a character. Batman should have had a solo movie by now. Before Justice League, we should have gotten a movie about Batman. But at this point, all we've gotten is Batman teamed up with Superman, Batman teamed up with the Justice League. We haven't gotten an actual Batman movie. And really, it looks like that means 2020 before we got a Batman movie. It just feels like they kind of are just trying, like they're in a mad scramble to try and figure out what to do. On the other hand, they are filming the Zachary Levi Shazam movie. Early set photos, actually, the costume looks pretty decent, and I'm sure there'll be technical enhancements in post-production. But it looks like it could be good, and I've always had an affection for Captain Marvel. He's, the boy who turns into a grown superhero, but he's really still just a kid. And you can have a lot of fun with that concept. Sorry, not Captain Marvel. Shazam. Shazam is no longer just a word he says. It's actually the character's name. Now, maybe someday I'll get into why they can't call him Captain Marvel anymore, but I'll give you a hint. It's Marvel's fault. Now, maybe Flashpoint won't be a time travel story. Maybe they're kind of pulling a fast one with that name and some of the information that's come out. And I just really think what DC needs to do is focus on making the movies themselves just as good as they can as standalone, with hints of that larger universe. Don't treat them like this is a sequel to this is a sequel to this is a sequel. No. Just focus on that movie that you're working. Focus on Wonder Woman, then focus on Aquaman, then focus on Shazam. Now, let me be clear. I mean the movie, the filmmaking teams. That's why it's good to have different directors instead of one director overseeing everything. You need a Kevin Feige if you're going to do a shared universe. This guy who kind of is looking at the huge overall picture. And it looks like it's possible that DC may have found that person. They've hired Walter Hamada, and he's been producing movies for at least 10, 15 years, I think. He mainly worked in the horror business, but one thing about the horror business is you get to learn how to work within things like tight budgets and stuff like that. You also get to work with some aspiring directors. He knows people to pull in. And if he's overseeing the bigger picture, that allows, Ava DuVernay to just focus on what her movie is going to be, what it's about, without worrying too much. Other than when somebody comes in and says, well, that butts up against this, or, you know, but that kind of thing. But because there's always going to be studio interference. But let the directors be directors. Let the writers write. Let them just make the best movie they can so we can get more Wonder Womans and apparently possibly Aquamans. Who knows? I want to see more of this from DC. I want them to succeed. I do. I want to see great things from DC's movies. In my book, this is the thing that's really important for a shared universe, is that you don't get so caught up in your big universe that you forget about the movies you're making. I want DC to be successful. I want to see great movies with characters I've loved since I was a kid. So, thanks for watching this series. I know it turned out to be pretty long. I want to thank you if you sat through all of them. Thank you. I hope you liked them. I hope you found it interesting. And let me know if you'd like to see more. If you have any suggestions even, feel free to contact me on Twitter at Tom Wade, THOMWADE, and or, you know, comment on my blog, trippingthroughgateways.com, or even in the comments here on YouTube. So thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you again sometime this year.